there's a few things that I think are massively helpful in defining what the Sabbath is not. First, the Sabbath is not a day of selfishness. Author A.J. Swoboda has this line in his book, The Subversive Sabbath. He says, "The Sabbath is not a form of indulgent individualism dressed in religious piety." In other words, don't use the Sabbath to do whatever you want and call it spiritual. In my experience, binging a whole series on Netflix or endlessly scrolling through social media has never actually felt like rest for my soul. Usually those things for me are an indication that I'm trying to avoid some reality of my life. 2, the Sabbath is not the same thing as a day off. And I understand that that might be idealistic for some of us. If you don't have more than one day off in your week, there's so much grace and there's so much just reality in your situation to do what you can where you are. And what I mean by this is, in my practice of the Sabbath, anytime that I'm doing something productive, checking things off of a list, running errands, doing things that aren't necessarily related to my job but are productive, that's not Sabbath rest for me. And I'm going to add one here for my single friends in the room, in your homes, that practicing the Sabbath doesn't mean becoming a monk for a day. You don't need to spend the whole day completely isolated, be responsible, but you're allowed to Sabbath with people. Also, have grace for yourself. There's a lot of trial and error as you're integrating Sabbath into your life. Hopefully you journey into this with your digital community or your house church, but don't forget that we're all wired very differently. And you cannot copy and paste someone's Sabbath onto your life and hope for the same result. Some of their practices might be helpful, but some of them might be heavy. And that's okay because we're different. But if you find yourself halfway through your Sabbath feeling not rested at all and more frustrated, don't give up on it. Just take a moment, center yourself, invite the Holy Spirit to be with you again, and keep going.